Chapter 2 of the Administrative Behavior critically examines some of the commonly accepted principles of administration that have long been touted as guiding effective organizational design. Principles like unity of command, span of control, and specialization by purpose or process are scrutinized. Those principles are often contradictory and lack empirical evidence to support their validity. For example, some advocate limiting the span of control. Each administrator has a small team of employees to oversee. This can result in efficient supervision and quick decision-making within those small teams. However, it can also lead to too many layers of hierarchy and bloated bureaucracy. Decisions must pass through several layers before reaching the top executive. As a result, decision-making is slowed down. On the other hand, when organizations have fewer levels of hierarchy, that is, limiting the number of hierarchical levels, decision-making can be more streamlined, but it may also mean that administrators at each level have a broader span of control, which can be challenging to manage effectively, especially if the organization is large. Here, the two principles, limiting the span of control and limiting the number of organizational levels, are contradictory because they present opposing approaches to managing an organization. To ensure efficiency in an organization, it's recommended to have a narrow span of control, meaning each administrator oversees only a few subordinates. However, this can lead to a more hierarchical structure, which in turn can slow down administrative decision-making and make the organization less efficient. The current understanding of administration relies too heavily on ambiguous proverbs, a guiding principle or belief in the field of administration, rather than developing an analytical framework grounded in facts and evidence-based administrative science. To address this problem, Herbert Simon proposes 3 ways to develop a better administrative theory that provides a more powerful explanation of administrative decision-making. First, developing clear operational concepts and empirically grounded knowledge that allow accurate and concrete description of administrative situation. In the K-12 school district, administrators can establish specific performance metrics for teachers, including student progress, classroom management, and professional development participation. Those metrics provide a concrete basis for evaluating and improving teacher effectiveness. Implementing structured classroom observation protocols helps administrators evaluate teaching methods and classroom dynamics objectively. This approach ensures consistency in evaluations and identifies areas where teachers may need additional support. Administrators can also analyze teachers' workloads to optimize their efficiency. This includes assigning the number of classes, class sizes, and extracurriculum responsibilities to ensure that teachers can focus on effective instruction. An operational definition is a precise and measurable description of a concept, variable, or a term, often used in scientific and research contexts. It defines how a particular concept will be observed and measured in a specific experiment or study. Operational definitions are essential for ensuring clarity and consistency in research, allowing others to replicate experiments or observations accurately. Operational definitions help bridge the gap between theory and practice by translating vague and abstract ideas into concrete and observable terms. This is essential for formulating effective principles and strategies in administrative decision-making. Let's consider the abstract concept of employee morale in organizational context. To develop an operational definition for employee morale, one needs to specify what it can be measured through an annual employee satisfaction survey, which includes questions about job satisfaction, work-life balance, and overall job happiness. In this case, The operational definition transforms the abstract concept of morale into quantifiable data that administrators can use to make informed decisions, such as implementing strategies to improve employee morale based on survey results. To develop a vocabulary that accurately describes administrative situation, it's a fundamental step in refining administrative theory. For example, team collaboration can be open to interpretation without a well-defined vocabulary. To refine this concept, let's provide an operational definition that breaks down team collaboration into specific elements. Shared goals. Team members have a clear understanding of shared goals or objectives. Those goals are articulated in a way that every team member can comprehend and align their effort toward achieving them. Interdependent roles and responsibilities. Each team member should have well-defined roles and responsibilities that are interdependent. This clarifies who is accountable for what and prevents duplication or confusion. Open communication. Effective collaboration requires open and transparent communication among team members. This includes active listening, sharing ideas, providing feedback, and ensuring that information flows freely within the team. Decision-making processes. Teams must establish clear decision-making processes. This includes defining how decisions will be made, who has decision-making authority, and how consensus will be reached when necessary. Trust and respect. A collaborative environment thrives on trust and respect among team members. Trust is built through reliability, competence, and integrity, while respect involves valuing diverse perspectives and contributions. And accountability. Team members are held accountable for their commitments and contributions. This ensures that everyone is actively engaged and responsible for the team's success. By providing this operational definition of team collaboration, administrators and leaders gain an understanding and can apply it in their professional settings. It offers clarity on what effective collaboration requires and which teams are more collaborative than others and to what extent. This example underscores the importance of developing a precise vocabulary to refine administrative theory. A well-defined vocabulary ensures that concepts like team collaboration are not only understood but also applied effectively in practice, contributing to organizational success. Second, to address the problem of administrative theory, we also need to identify all relevant criteria for evaluating administrative organizations, not just the few enshrined in the traditional proverbs. Educational administrators must consider different criteria beyond surface-level measures when evaluating administrative organizations. For example, to evaluate the effectiveness of schools as organizations, in addition to standardized test scores, administrators should consider a broader range of criteria for assessing student success, such as student participation in extracurricular activities, graduation rates, and post-secondary enrollment. This holistic approach provides a more comprehensive view of the school's impact on students. Finally, to develop a more robust administrative theory, administrators must undertake empirical research to determine the different degrees of importance associated with different criteria. This research involves examining how different organizational arrangements impact overall efficiency and educational outcomes. For example, educators can conduct empirical research to evaluate how different resource allocation models, such as funding distribution among schools or departments, influence student achievement and overall organizational efficiency. By analyzing data on budget allocations and academic outcomes, administrators can identify optimal resource distribution strategies. Another area of empirical research can focus on the impact of teacher professional development programs. Administrators can compare the effectiveness of different professional development approaches in improving teacher performance and student learning outcomes. Data-informed insights can guide decisions on investing in the most impactful development initiatives. Moreover, as technology plays an increasingly prominent role in education, administrators can engage in research to evaluate the effects of technology integration on administrative efficiency and student engagement. Administrators can examine the outcomes of digital learning initiatives, the adoption of educational software, or online administrative systems. By conducting empirical research in those related areas, educational administrators can gain a deeper understanding of how different organizational arrangements and practices can influence the efficiency and effectiveness of their organization. This empirical approach allows for data-informed decision-making and the development of a more comprehensive and refined administrative theory. As you read this chapter, think critically about whether you can see contradictory proverbs in your workplace. How can you test and challenge those contradictory principles to advance our understanding of administrative decision-making?